Alright, for this next scramble, I thought it was okay. But one thing that you of course have to work on is in your cross. One thing that I've seen consistently over your 5 solves is that you almost always start the timer with your white facing your front, especially when you do white cross. And that's kind of like adding an extra rotation. So here, just look, take a look. Did U prime, R prime, then you did X, D2, F, B prime. Now, I mean, that was good if you hadn't done the rotation at the beginning, because you kind of started like this and you kind of moved up slowly. If you hadn't done that rotation in the beginning, it would have been a pretty good cross, except that you used B prime. Doing B's and crosses doing B's in almost any solve is usually really bad, because when I saw you do B's and B primes, you oftentimes do an X and then like D or D prime or D2 and then X prime. Now, of course, those people who use Ru, using B is good for them because then it keeps it at like a smooth solve. But for CFOP users, I wouldn't recommend using B or B prime unless you're doing an algorithm. But here's what I would have done for this cross. So I would have held it up here with green facing me, and I would have done this. R, L, and that's mainly so I can preserve these two. So R, L prime, and then F prime, and then I do D2, R prime. So I know this is here, but I wouldn't finish L prime because I would go into my next pair like that, and I saw this would be broken up. But going on with what we had, and then you would do this pair. So what you did for this pair, it was okay, except I could have done it slightly better. But here's what you did: R, U prime, R prime. So you took this pair out, U2 insert. But here's a faster way that you can execute it. What I did is this: F2, R wide, U2, R wide prime. So something like this. Whoops. So, of course, something along the lines of that. It's a lot more efficient and only takes 4 moves. Your next F2L was not the greatest, so here's what you did. You saw this pair first. I think this is your favorite F2L pair because you must have done it like an insane amount of times. But I don't really think this is that great of an F2L pair. It's my least favorite one that you could get, mostly because it takes so many moves. So what I would have done is I would have done this pair, and that would have broken up this for a lot more easier solution. See, it would have given me that. But here's what you could have done. So what you did was this: U2, and then R prime, U, R, U, R prime, U, R, U prime, and then you put it in the back. Now that's good, except that you could have just done this one. But if you want to do this pair, here's what I would have done. I would have done this: F, U, R, U prime, R prime, F prime. Then that would have given me that. Then I could have done a rotation to solve it. So I would have done something, you know, I'd rotate and then put it in like this. Not like this, because of that give me basically the same thing. But if I did this, I would have gotten this easier case. But let's go on with your solve. Where'd it go? Okay, so after that, you did this F2L. So your F2L3 was needs slight improvement, mostly because you need to look ahead a lot. You need to work on look ahead. But here's what you did: you did U prime, U prime, U prime, and then recognizing that you had this case, you did R, U2, R prime, then Y prime, U, and put in the back. Now that was pretty much what I would have done, except I wouldn't have done the U prime, U prime, U prime, and it would have been rotationless. So here's what I would have done: u, r, u2, r prime, u prime, and then insert it in the front. And then what I would have done for F2L4, or here, let's just go back. So so for F2L4, you did this, u prime, L, L prime, u2, and then left join. What I would have done is this. I would have done a y prime. I would have done then a right block, then a u sledge for edge control, for EO, and that would have resulted in a better OLL than the one you got. Oops. Okay, so then you got this case, this other dot case. I don't really like dot cases, but here's what you did. You did u prime OLL, and here's where you could have improved a little bit. You did you did a u prime, then you did a z prime, and then you had to do a u2 at the end. But if you didn't do the u prime, you could have just avoided doing AUF, and it would have been done from there. So overall, that was a pretty good solve. So here's his fourth solve. This was the slowest of all of his, but this was a 16.82, so here we go. So for this cross, I recognize a relatively easy way of doing it, but here's what he did. And again, he started with the cube facing him like this when he started the timer, and sort of rotated as he progressed with the cross. So one thing that I might have as a critique is that maybe work on being more comfortable with D moves in cross, because you oftentimes are doing like a rotation and stuff. So, and F moves in cross, because you oftentimes are doing rotations. So try to make your cross as rotationless as possible, and that will definitely decrease your times. So here's what he did: D prime, and then so he was down here, he's here, so he did D prime, and then X, U, R prime, X prime, D prime, L, D prime. Now that was okay, except that you had to rotate a lot. So what I figured out as my cross, there are actually multiple ways of doing this, but here's the one I found because it's easy to track these two pieces. So what I did is this: little u prime, F, R prime, little u2. So that was actually pretty bad of showing you guys, but that's what I did. But let's just go ahead and continue with his solve. So he then saw the pair, he saw this pair, then he did this, L, U2, L, and then inverse. But that was good. It's just, I think there's a slight pause from your cross to F2L transition, so maybe work on that a little bit. And then you saw this pair next, which was good. One thing that's really good about yourself is that you're comfortable using both your left and right hand. So I've seen that you can in theory solve the whole cube using like only one rotation, because you can use both your left and right hand. But yeah, your F2L3, this is where your look head kind of fell apart. Here's what you did. You did U prime, U prime. So I think you're going to do this pair, or you're just kind of like seeing what options you had. Then you did this: R, U, R prime, R, U, R prime, U prime. So that took way too many moves. What you probably could have done instead, well, here, let's just go on with the solve. And then you did this pair, so you did U prime, Y, and then all that good stuff. Okay, so here's what I would have done. So what you could have just done instead was U prime, then you could have just done a right block, then you could have rotated and put it in. and that would have given you a whole better second case. Your F2L4 also could have used a little work. Alright, so you did U prime, U prime, U prime. Then you had this, and then of course this happened again. But here's where you did good. Instead of just inserting it like regular and getting a dot case, you did a sledge. That gave you this easier case. So I would have done something a little different. So what I would have done is U2, Y prime, F, U, R, U prime, R prime, F prime, and then I would have done just a right block. So yeah, it would have given me a better case, and it also would have given me an EPLL. Whoops. So Z prime. But let's go on with your case. It was good. You did UU, and maybe you also could work on doing U2s, because UU isn't as fast as just doing U2. But yeah, you could do F prime, double R prime from on the left, F prime. Then you did this U, so you did U prime, U, and you recognize as an AB perm, AB perm. Oops, and then that's it. Alright, so his last solve was his fastest one. It was a 12.738. This solve was actually pretty good. There wasn't too much for me to critique about this one, but here are the few. So what he did was this. U prime D, R prime L2, D2, F, which was good. That's exactly what I would have done. And then here he did this orange blue pair. He did U2, RU, R prime, left back join. What I would have done is R, U2, R prime, left back join. But not too much of a difference, so let's just go ahead and go on with his. And then he did this pair. This is, of course, the same pair that he always seems to get. I don't really think that the way you solve it is too great, so maybe try learning this way. So what I would do is this. So actually what he would do is this. So he would do U, and then L, U prime, L prime, U prime, L, U prime, L prime, and then left back insert. So that's okay, except that what I would have done is this, and it's rotationless, so I would have done U, R, U, L prime, U prime, L2, and sort of go into a sledgehammer, and then put in. But of course it's not the best solution, so what I would have, the way you did it wasn't the best solution, but let's just go on with your solve. So you had this here, so of course this is good. You did U2, and then basically just solved it like that. And then he did Y prime, which is good, except, you know, you try not to do rotations, but I mean in this scenario you can't really do any. I can't solve without doing rotations, so what you did was R prime, U prime, R, U2, and then you inserted it. That gave you a soon into a JA perm. And yeah, that was really good. So your average was 13.268. So good job, Henry. That was a really good average that you got there. I saw a few things that you could work on, such as try not to do rotations in cross, try not to do B's in cross, work on your cross to F2L transition, work on that one case that you always seem to get, that try to work on these cases. Side of the King has good videos on them, because I don't really think that, I mean, doing this is okay, but of course there are slightly better ways that you can do it. Instead of doing u or u prime, try to do u2s in a fluid motion because that's a lot faster. And yeah, pretty much just look ahead, practice, and good job, Henry. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you on my next video.